Hello everyone, my name's Steve Shaddock, and as a co-organiser for this webinar, I would like to extend a warm welcome to the FIP webinar, Experience Sharing of COVID-19 from China, Medicine and Pharmacist. Before we commence, I'd like to let you know how to participate in today's event. You'll have the opportunity to submit text questions to the presenters by typing your questions into the questions section of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the question and answer session at the end of today's presentations. We have three speakers today, and our first speaker is Dong Lu, who's the Chief Pharmacist at Tongji Medical College Hospital of Huazhong University of Science and Technology. He is a member of many various professional committees, some of which are Vice Chairman of the Society of Pharmaceutical Information in China, member of the Pharmaco-Epidemiology Committee of the Chinese Pharmaceutical Association, member of the Expert Committee of the National Centre for Quality Control of Pharmaceutical Administration, Chairman of the Professional Committee of Pharmaco-Epidemiology of Wuhan Pharmaceutical Association. Dong Lu has been involved in more than 40 clinical trials of new drugs and one national invention patent. He has had more than 100 papers published. With that, I'd like to ask Dong Lu, could you go with your presentation, please? Thank you. Are you there, Dong Lu? We've had some technical problems before starting that. We're just trying to get everything back in control. We're not quite sure what's happening. Are you there, Dong Lu? Are you able to? We can't hear you, Dong Lu. Can you hear us, Dong Lu?
Yeah, I can hear you. Do you hear me?
You're right. You're right to start your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Dear Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, or morning. It's my great pleasure to have the opportunity to speak at this meeting. I'm Dong Liu from Department of Pharmacy, Tongji Hospital, Huazhong University of Science and Technology, Wuhan, China. Today, I would like to share my report. Hospital pharmacy, administration, and medication treatment for COVID-19. This is my resume. Firstly, I will briefly introduce Tongji Hospital. It was founded by Dr. Erich Paulung, a German physician, in 1900 in Shanghai, and it was relocated to Wuhan in 1955. The hospital now has 3 branches: the main hospital branch, Optical Valley branch, and the Sino-French New City branch. In COVID-19 pandemic, Tongji Hospital took the initiative to transform 2 hospital branches, treated nearly 3,500 severe and critical ill patients in Wuhan. Tongji Hospital takes positive actions and embodies of the spirit of responsibility. This is a brief introduction of our department. We are the National Key Specialty Construction Unit of Clinical Pharmacy from 2013 to 2015. Our department ranked the 10th position in China in 2017 and 18. The Quality Control Center of Clinical Pharmacy of Hubei Province is attached to our department. We are also the sponsor of the National Yangtze River Pharmaceutical Road Academic Conference next week. We will hold the Hospital Pharmacy Conference focusing on COVID-19. The fourth conference of Yangtze River Pharmaceutical Road in the web. My report will cover three parts: background of the COVID-19, medication treatment for COVID-19, and active response to the pandemic. Firstly, background of COVID-19. In December 2019, it was reported an outbreak of a severe unexplained viral pneumonia in our city. In February 2020, WHO named the virus SARS-CoV-2 and declared the disease caused by this virus as COVID-19. On January 23, 2020, our city was locked down. Wuhan urban bus, subway, ferry, airport, and railway stations were temporarily closed. It is the first time that Wuhan city was temporarily closed in China and in the world. This is a scene of the street in front of our hospital on January 26, 2020 to morning. The whole country acted in unison and fought the pandemic with confidence. Because COVID-19 is mainly transmitted by droplets and contact, humans of all ages are generally susceptible. The prevention and control mechanism of the State Council emphasized early detection and early isolation of infected people to prevent the transmission of the virus on February 7, 2020. Treat all the infected patients and hospitalized all confirmed patients. Conduct tests of all suspected patients and isolate all those close contacts. There are the vast majority of hospitals that be designated and 14 Fangchang shelter hospitals for the therapy of COVID-19 patients. Part 2, medication treatment for COVID-19. There are a lot of guidelines or consensus on diagnosis and treatment of COVID-19 ensued in these 2 months. Medication guidelines for COVID-19 in Hubei have been also issued by the Pharmacy Quality Control Center that was attached to us. Treatment principles are listed as follows, including antiviral treatment, rational use of antibiotics, anti-hypoxemia treatment, and so on. Antivirus therapy is the key to control the development of COVID-19. For antiviral treatment, Choloroquine Phosphate, Papilavir-Ritonavir, Lopinavir-Ritonavir, Abidol, interferon, ribavirin are recommended, while neuraminidase inhibitors such as oseltamivir and ganciclovir are not recommended. An early antiviral treatment can reduce the incidence severe and critical cases. Dosage and administration, such as when to give the antiviral drugs, and treatment duration were under study. In principle, oral antivirals tend to be used early and unknown. It was not recommended to use 3 or more antiviral drugs at the same time. Let's talk about antiviral medicine. First, chloroquine, a traditional anti-malaria drug, was shown to be effective against SARS-CoV-2 infection in vitro. Several clinical trials are in progress to test the efficacy and the safety of chloroquine phosphate against COVID-19. More than 100 patients provided the first evidence that chloroquine phosphate was more effective in inhibiting the exacerbation of pneumonia compared with control treatment. Lopinavir-Ritonavir are protease inhibitors targeting the coronavirus main proteinase. The current recommended dosage and administration are 400 mg and 100 mg orally twice daily, less than 10 days. In a recent study, academician Wang and Dr. Chao found that Lopinavir-Ritonavir treatment did not significantly accelerate clinical improvement and reduce mortality or diminish through viral RNA detectability. But it led to a median time to clinical improvement that was shorter by 1 day than that observed with standard care. According to the use of Lopinavir-Ritonavir in our hospital, nearly 14 of the Lopinavir-Ritonavir recipients were unable to complete the full course of administration. This was due primarily to adverse events, including anorexia, nausea, abdominal discomfort, and diarrhea, as well as serious adverse events, both acute gastritis. Abidor is a Russian-made, licensed in Russia and China for prophylaxis and treatment of influenza and other respiratory viral infections. It has shown broad-spectrum antiviral activity against a number of enveloped and non-enveloped RNA or DNA viruses. On February 4, 2020, academician Li Lanjuan confirmed that Abidor could effectively inhibit the SARS-CoV-2 in vitro. But there was a negative result of a clinical observation study of 34 patients with COVID-19. Tocilizumab, the uncontrolled cytokine released is highly likely to be responsible for the transition from the very first symptoms to ARDS in COVID-19 patients. Tocilizumab is recommended in seriously ill COVID-19 patients by the National Health Commission of China in the latest 7th version. From our retrospective study of 14 patients who were used Tocilizumab, it appeared to be an effective treatment option in COVID-19 patients with a risk of cytokine storms. Tocilizumab might be expected to benefit these seriously ill patients with about 10 times elevated interleukin-6 and moderately ill patient with an extremely higher level of interleukin-6, almost 90 times of normal could also benefit from Tocilizumab therapy. Traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, were also used to prevent and control the pandemic. Clinical studies have shown that TCM, which includes Chinese patent medicine, TCM injections, and TCM decoctions, might be helpful for SARS-CoV-2 treatment for all the different stages. The recommended TCM includes 金花清肝 granule, 血必精 injection, 清肺排毒汤, and so on. Next, let me introduce our work. Part 3, active response to the pandemic. It consists of 3 parts. Establishment of pharmacist protection and monitoring system, drug supply guarantee in COVID-19 designated hospital, pharmaceutical care in designated hospital for COVID-19. Firstly, personnel protection, especially for the medical staff, is very important. So our department established a personnel protection training mechanism that monitors the health of personnel daily. According to the risk of different positions, we take different levels of protection measures. Secondly, medical supply guarantee in COVID-19 designated hospital, which is divided into 5 parts. At the beginning, effective targeted treatment medicines have not yet confirmed for COVID-19. We quickly established and improved the list of key therapy medicine based on clinical technical guide issued by national and provincial health commissions. The list not only contains antiviral drugs, but also medicines for respiratory system, digestive system, and cardiovascular system, and so on. In response to the sudden outbreak of COVID-19, the Pharmacy Administration and the Pharmacotherapy Committee had urgently established a medicine emergency procurement mechanism. At the end of February 2020, a total of 14 emergency procurement procedures have been initiated, including emergency purchases of a total 26 medicines. There are some glimpses of our pharmacist medicine supplying work in the Fever Clinical Pharmacy and the Fangchang Shelter Hospital in the fight against COVID-19. Certainly, strengthen the use of traditional Chinese medicine. Our hospital's preparation, 金叶白毒 granule, proved to be effective in preventing and treating SARS virus infection. At the beginning of the outbreak, the pharmacy department urgently arranged the preparation center to expand the production of 金叶白毒 granule and supplied more antiviral Chinese medicine preparations to the clinic. After our hospital became into the designated hospitals for COVID-19, Department of Pharmacy and Nursing quickly established pharmacy intravenous admixture service. This is a PVAS node control process of 1 review and 5 checks, covering all links of the order review, allocation, check, labeling, warehousing, mixture allocation, finished product review, sorting and packing, and the distribution of intravenous infusion. Now, the PVAS undertakes more than 1,000 patients intravenous medication dispensing and preparation. The workload is 10 times as much as before. Although the work is hard, it is gratifying that our work is recognized by clinicians and reported many times by CCTV. During this period, the vast majority of medical institutions in Wuhan were engaged in the designated hospitals, and there is no guarantee for medication for patients with chronic disease. Our hospital established cloud clinical and cloud pharmacy to provide online video consultation, medication distribution, one-stop shop. In addition to securing medicine supply, pharmacists actively participated in the consultation of difficult cases, the daily case discussion, analyzed death cases, and offered their rational use advices. Considering the off-label use of many drugs, such as Choloroquine, Lopinavir-Ritonavir, and so on, we should pay more attention to the occurrence of ADR, adverse drug reactions. Pharmacists raise the game time, take active action, and become disseminators of rational medicine use information. We also provide valuable scientific popularization of disease and medicine use to the people. Our WeChat official account has published 109 articles and reports about COVID-19. The cumulative reading amount has exceeded 100,000. With the efforts of the whole nation, especially the medical staffs, our city got lockdown relieved. This is the scene of the street in front of our hospital on April 8, 2020. I'm proud of my fellow pharmacists. We will condense the willing and strength all the staff in Tongji Pharmacy Department, seizing the day and living it to the full. Now, unfortunately, the pandemic has spread globally. Let's confirm confidence, join hands and face it together, and overcome it finally. Thank you for your attention. Your constructive suggestion will be appreciated. Good luck. Let's stand. Okay.
Thank you very much, Donglu. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Our second speaker today is Rongshen Zhao, who is a professor and director of the pharmacy department of the Peking University Third Hospital. Professor Rongshen Zhao was born in Jiangsu, People's Republic of China, in 1969. He received a Bachelor of Science degree in pharmaceutics science from China Pharmaceutical University in 1991, and then gained his master's degree in medical science from Beijing Medical University in 1998, and a PhD degree in medical science from Peking University in 2006. He has been a postdoctoral fellow in pharmaceutical sciences, University of Kentucky, USA, from June 2008 to June 2010. In the fight against COVID-19 outbreak in 2020, he accepted the commission of the Chinese Pharmaceutical Association to actively lead the pharmacy professional team to formulate the coronavirus 2 infection expert consensus on guidance and prevention strategies for hospital pharmacists and the pharmacy workforce. The Chinese and English versions of the consensus were released globally on February 7th at the FIP official website in response to FIP requirements. The consensus provided Chinese experience for the pharmacy guarantee and services of the international pharmacy workers in the fight against epidemics. He was recommended by the Chinese Pharmaceutical Association to participate in the FIP International Expert Working Group as a Chinese representative, responding quickly and actively. In the process, he actively shared the experience of the Chinese consensus with the FIP International Expert Working Group so that the main content of the Chinese consensus was included in the FIP guidelines and cited as a source file. I now ask Rongshen to commence his presentation. Rongshen, I've just put it across to you to put your slides up.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Hello, everyone. I'm I'm Rongsheng Zhao, Chief Pharmacist from Peking University Third Hospital, Beijing, China. It is a great honor to receive an invitation from the FIP as a representative of Chinese pharmacists to share China experience with you. And first, let's take a look at today's main content, including the following 7 aspects. Under public health emergencies, such as the outbreak of COVID-19, the work strategy of clinical pharmacists needs to be modified according to the rapid spread of the disease. What's exactly a pharmacist's role? How do we quickly develop pharmaceutical care during COVID-19 pandemic? And why are we exploring this? The outbreak of COVID-19 in December 2019 has spread around the world and become a global pandemic. As of April 14, 2020, the COVID-19 is affecting 210 countries and territories around the world, and 2 international conventions. Pharmacists can play a great role in control the infection, avoid exhaustion of medical results, ensure safe drug use. Facing the public health emergency of international concern, global cooperation is needed, especially cooperation, sharing, and full communication between health experts. So the cooperation is the main theme now. China is the first country in the world that erupted and effectively controlled COVID-19. Sharing Chinese experience will be very helpful to control COVID-19 globally. With the continuous expansion of COVID-19 in the world, pharmacists as important professionals in epidemic prevention need to communicate and discuss the clinical medication and self-protection. So today, I want to share our experience in the treatment and control of COVID-19 with pharmacists from all over the world. And this is a cooperation and collaboration of pharmacists. Because of the need to cut off the source of infection and avoid the spread of infected patients to families and communities, the majority of Chinese COVID-19 patients are intensively treated in hospital, the mildly in Fangcang Shelter Hospital. Therefore, hospital pharmacies play an important role in several areas, including the following. The importance and necessity is that pharmacists need to meet clinical, patient, public needs in an epidemic situation to carry out pharmaceutical service. Pharmacists have an important role and responsibility in the global COVID-19 outbreak. At different stages of epidemic development, the focus of pharmacist work is different, divided into on outbreak stage, outbreak development stage, and post-epidemic period. And this is a consensus and guideline formulated by CPA and FIP. The guidance and prevention strategy for hospital pharmacists and the pharmacy workforce is reflected in the following 10 aspects. The pharmaceutical care should be patient-centered care in every loop of the healthcare system, including at communities, clinics, hospitals, and nursing facilities. In the early stage of the epidemic, pharmacy managers should formulate a work plan to respond to the epidemic, including ensure adequate supply, protect pharmacy staff, control the environment, and establish a emergency plan or protocol, and so on. We did all staff training about self-protection skill and for pharmacist training on clinical knowledge on COVID-19, such as early identification, diagnosis, and treatment. Training for inpatient and outpatient pharmacists shall have different emphasis to fulfill the need of different patients. There are also other results for pharmacists to learn about the COVID-19. Strategies for providing pharmaceutical care during COVID-19 pandemic will be discussed in 4 segments as listed below. In this presentation, we will primarily discuss the first and the third segment for the sake of the time, including the prevention of community patients and the management of hospitalized COVID-19 patients. The community pharmacists play a vital role in minimize community transmission and promote pandemic control. Patients screen and referring based on suspicious symptom and epidemiological history. We did drug supply for chronic disease patients, especially patients with special diseases, to ensure safe drug use of the community patient population. Besides, pharmacies have a pivotal role to play not only in ensuring access to medicines and medical devices, but also in public health, namely by informing the public about preventative measures, advising about behavioral precautions, and in the risk assessment, early detection and referral of individuals suspected to be at a high risk of being infected. We conduct health education about prevention and early detection of COVID-19 infection for patients, just as the picture shows. Here is an overview of strategy for community pharmacists, which has published by my team in RSAP last month. The pictures show the pharmacy staff working in a community health center in Tianjin, China. They verify the residents' drug application, help write prescription, and dispense medications. They also provide medication consulting service through the phone. During the epidemic period, East Hubei Medical and Nursing Corporation opened 12349 hotlines to provide drug purchasing and consultation service, providing drug consultation service for the elderly in more than 30 communities around the corporation. Pharmacists should ensure the public clean and disinfect the home environment properly, and the management of suspected patients' tableware and articles for daily use. What cannot be ignored is that because of home quarantine, we need to pay more attention to the physical and mental health of the public, such as encourage the public to maintain regular work and the rest schedule, and to keep a positive emotion. For inpatients, hospital pharmacists are more focused on providing individualized pharmaceutical care. The overview is also published in RSAP last month. There is no specific medicine or vaccine for COVID-19 currently. The antiviral therapy was most recommended as soon as possible. Antibiotics or glucocorticoids were not routinely recommended, and avoid blind use and inappropriate use. The dosing regimen should be carefully formulated, and inappropriate high-dose medications or multi-drug combination should be avoided. At present, many institutions in the world have developed guidelines for the treatment of COVID-19, but there are differences in the recommended treatment drug. Pharmacists shall participate in making evidence-based decisions for medication. Advancing therapeutic drug for COVID-19 were analyzed and evaluated, and were summarized in the table. This also published in ICP last month. Currently, most of the therapeutic drugs for COVID-19 are in ongoing clinical trials and remain pre-approved access with unidentified safety and efficacy. For example, Lopinavir and Ritonavir, Abidor, and some other drugs may cause serious adverse reaction. The safety and efficacy of medication should be closely monitored, and the dose should be optimized. As for convalescent plasma therapy, we call CPT. It is an effective therapy choice and has been successfully applied to the treatment of SARS and H1N1 influenza. When performing CPT, pharmacist needs to closely record and monitor adverse effect of plasma transfusion before, during, and after transfusion. Till now, there are 52 candidate vaccines under preclinical research against coronavirus. 2 of the candidate vaccines have entered phase 1 clinical trial. Pharmacists should provide patients with scientific information about vaccine development. If patients discharged to home, pharmacists shall support patients' recovery in the communities, provide guidance, perform medication reconciliation, and give patient education on medication use. If patients transferred to nursing facilities, medication reconciliation should be performed upon patient arrival. Besides the strategy above, the summarized clinical pharmacist role and innovative strategy of pharmacy service is shown in the figure. This also published in ISAP this month. Pharmacists shall actively participate in the development of guidance document for safe and effective operation of pharmacy department. In addition to the guideline we mentioned earlier, some other pharmaceutical association has also developed different guidelines and consensus, providing pharmaceutical information support, etc. There are many observational and interventional studies registered on international and Chinese clinical trials so far. Not only can pharmacists participate in clinical trials, but also establish a database of clinical drug research in the real world based on medical records to analyze the safety and effectiveness of medication therapy in patients with different types of COVID-19. To reduce the risk of infection, it is recommended that medical institutions use innovative methods to dispense drug to inpatients, such as using automated dispenser and intelligent drug storage cabinets and PVAS operation. A retrospective study suggested that 23% of COVID-19 patients have complications based on the characteristic of the comorbidities of the affected population. Clinical pharmacists shall play a vital role in medication reconciliation and develop and implement medication therapy management, we call MTM, for patients with chronic disease to improve medication compliance, accuracy, and cure rates. Facing the truth that a large number of patients in the Fangcang shelter hospital needs medicine guidance of pharmacists. At the same time, many home quarantine patients with chronic disease also need consultation from professionals under the epidemic. Therefore, a variety of innovative remote pharmaceutical services have been launched quickly. The mode, just as a picture showed. The pharmacist created a Fangcang shelter radio station to popularize COVID-19 related prevention and control and medication knowledge, relieve patients' panic and nervousness about the disease, and use the educational material above for the Fangcang shelter patients. Provide a series of lectures called Reasonable Use of Medicine, War Will Win, on the rational use of medicine. Pharmacists shall spread and promote medical knowledge popularization that in live broadcast or recorded course through the TV program, the internet, and other media to public, such as TikTok, Bilibili, Youku, and YouTube. All in all, the timely supply of preventive and treatment medications, the emergency plans for pharmacy workforce, and the provision of pharmaceutical care for the community and the hospital pharmacists are particularly critical to support public health emergency operation during the COVID-19 pandemic. At the same time, we found that the epidemic has driven the development of innovative and telepharmacy service. In the face of ppublic health emergencies, international pharmacists shall collaborate together to take advantage of their pharmacology and pharmacological expertise to actively participate in the medical activity of COVID-19 and to maximize pharmacists' value and responsibility. Pharmacists in a different position have different roles and jointly contribute to combating the epidemic from the aspects of prevention and control, treatment, and health education. The epidemic of COVID-19 is changing every day, and pharmacists need to constantly update the latest progress on the treatment and explore the innovative pharmaceutical service for the current situation. And here are the reference. And thank you all for your attention. That's all.
Thank you, Rongsheng. Our third speaker is Yun Liao, who has a PhD in clinical pharmacy, is a professor of pharmacy and works as clinical pharmacist of the intensive care unit in the Department of Pharmacy, Tongren Hospital, Shanghai, Jiangtong University School of Medicine, Shanghai in China. Yun's skills include the rational use of antibacterial drugs and the medication monitoring of critically ill patients. In cooperation with the Pharmaceutical Care Network of Europe, completed the introduction, application and evaluation of advanced management tools. He's a specialist of hospital MDT consultation, is a specialist of medical accidents evaluation of Shanghai, and is a specialist of national health insurance. Yun, I've now made you as a presenter, so if you'd like to put your slides up, that would be wonderful. Can you hear me, Yun? Thank you. Can you hear us, Yun?
My job is focusing on the pharmaceutical care, where doctor and nurse are focusing on treatment and the patient's care. During the past 2 months, Shanghai has just gone through a tough moment, and we know some more on COVID-19. My colleagues and I hope that our experience can be helpful and useful for your clinical practice, research, or educations, and do wish people all over the world can be safe and back to normal lives as soon as possible. Here is the 3 parts I'm going to present. The first one, I would like briefly introduce Shanghai. Shanghai is the top 10 metropolis with 24 million populations. The GDP ranks #1 in China, and it is hopeful center of China's economic, financial, trade, and science technology innovation. So Shanghai have put enough money into medical facilities, physicians, and medical.
You can't see your screens. Yeah, that's okay. It's right now.
Okay.
It's okay, right?
Do you see on my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. I don't know whether you want to just go back to your first couple of slides, if you had some before that.
Yeah. Go back.
Okay.
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 Wait.
Shanghai is the top 10 metropolis with 24 million population. The GDP ranks #1 in China, and it is hub for centers of China's economic, financial, trade, and science technology innovation. So Shanghai have put enough money into medical facilities, physicians, and medical personnel to save the patient's life, while Shanghai sent more than 2,000 physicians and nurses, millions of medical facilities to Wuhan, the center of the pandemic in China. There are 350 59 comprehensive hospitals in Shanghai, and one decided hospital for adult patients with COVID-19 and one for children. Till now, the doctors in Shanghai have taken care of 622 cases, and more than 93% local patients recovered. The timely diagnosis and timely treatment in Shanghai have been effective to stop the circulation of COVID-19 in the city. The mortality in Shanghai was only 1%. It is far below the average. Certainly, we pay more money for patients' treatment compared with other big cities like Beijing in China. What's the Shanghai experience? First one is the concentrate patients. We collect all adult cases and send them a special hospital named Public Health Clinical Center, which was built 16 years ago for epidemic disease original. It is far from downtown city, while all others comprehensive hospital just set up a fever clinic for search and screen patients. Second one is the concentrated medical experts. Shanghai organized a medical team coming from top 10 comprehensive hospitals in Shanghai and worked together in Shanghai Public Health Clinical Center. They are the top experts on infectious disease, response medicine, nutrition, ICU, ECMO, pharmacy, radiology, health medicine, and so on. A comprehensive multidisciplinary diagnosis and treatment mechanism has been established in which doctors, nurses, and medical personnel, both inside and outside the isolation ward, can discuss the patient's situation smoothly every day via 5G video conference. Third one is concentrate resource. We have enough medical resources supported by the local government, include materials, medicine, ECMO, CRT, and so on. The last one is classified treatment according to different grades of patients. As you know, COVID-19 patients can be divided into mild, normal, severe, and critical grades. Patients in different stages should take different treatment. COVID-19 patients are often complicated with the underlying disease, receiving multiple types of drugs. So, pharmacists should pay more attention to the regimen, dose, ADR, therapeutic drugs monitoring. Well, the third part, pharmaceutical care. We care especially in following 11 items. First one, hydroxychloroquine HCQ, which is active metabolite of chloroquine CQ involved, which is used for SLE, and here is used for earlier antiviral treatment for reducing the incidence of severe and critical cases. Based on the pharmacokinetic character of HCQ, half-life of elimination is 50 days, while half-life of distribution is 3 or 2 days. For oral HCQ, pharmacists recommended the dosage regimens for older patients with weight of 16 kilograms is conducted as 400 milligrams twice a day on the first 2 days as loading dose. 400 milligrams once a day on the next 12 days as a maintenance dose. The dosage regimen exhibited quite good tolerance and reasonable effectiveness on antiviral effect. And only 3 cases received HCQ had a mild skin rash on patients' hand or arms. We use the HCQ, not CQ, just because of different EC15 and the potential risk of cardiac problem. Set up a population pharmacokinetic models for calculation of clinical.
You're breaking up, Ewan. You there, Ewan? I've lost you. I can't hear you. You there, Ewan? I can't hear you. I'm not quite sure if anybody else is having trouble hearing you.
Actually, those medicines was used in patients with COVID-19 in Wuhan and other cities. Up to now, we don't have any very strong evidence to recommend these drugs to treat this disease. And just a couple weeks ago, FDA in USA recommended HCQ and azithromycin combination, and hope these regimens will get a great clinical outcome. Number 3, large dose of vitamin C. Vitamin C are antioxidant, which can protect the endothelium and microcirculation. This drug has been under clinical trials in Shanghai as well as in Wuhan, and has shown some good effects. Number 4, Thymalfasin. For support of patients' immune system functions, Thymalfasin has been used in most of normal cases with dose of BIW, and all severe and critical cases with the dose of QD. It has shown beneficial results, especially in patients with low CD4 and some of younger patients. The earlier medicine used, the better result got. Gamma globulin was used in some critical cases. Azithromycin may have specific effect on decreasing ER6 level. As you know, it is antibiotics used in community niche infections. Number 5, antibiotics. Antibiotics are not recommended to prevent bacterial infection in mild or normal patients. Antibiotics can be used with discretion in patients who have the following conditions: extensive lung lesions, excess bronchial secretions, a history of clinical airway disease, taking glucocorticoids for more than 7 days. Number 6, glucocorticoids. The usage of glucocorticoids has been tightly restricted for COVID-19 patients in Shanghai. Only small dosage and short-term applications should be applied. Data shows that patients who had used the glucocorticoids, their viral shedding time was prolonged. Number 7, traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. Herbal medicine might be one of choice for normal patients, especially in intestinal dysfunctions. TCM doctors are in charge of herbal medicine dose and monitoring patients' response to TCM. Number 8, nutrition and psychological intervention. Nutrition and gastrointestinal functions should be assessed for all patients. Nutritional support was suggested to regulate the balance of intestinal microbiota and reduce the risk of secondary infections due to bacterial translation. Anxiety and fear were common in patients with COVID-19. The Shanghai Pharmacists also mentioned the importance of psychological interventions and giving some advices. TDM drugs for COVID-19 patients. Some antiviral and antibacterial drugs should be monitored. Here is the list presents the range of concentration and the points for attention of the common TDM drugs for COVID-19 patients. Upon the onset of aberrations of drug concentration, the treatment regimens need to be adjusted by considering the clinical symptoms. Number 10, consultation system for community peoples and discharged patients. Shanghai Pharmacists created online pharmacy service system, and any questions on medicines can be answered by online pharmacists, such as what is COVID-19, how to prevent it, and discharged patients can get free medications consultation and be followed up. The positive effects of these remote services on patients' care during the epidemic is helpful people to get more information about medicine and treatment. Number 11, clinical trials and drug evaluation. Some of clinical trials, such as HCQ, high dose of vitamin C, are approved and supported by government. Thank you for your listening. Here is our group. You may contact me at any times by email if you have any question. Thank you so much and have a nice day.
Thank you, Ewan. It was great.
Hello.
I'll open everybody up so you can all. Okay. I'm trying to open up all the presenters so they can actually talk, so we can get through some questions. Just. Okay. Could the presenters unmute themselves if you can, so I can? That's great. And can all the presenters hear me? Okay. I'm just wrong Shen. Ah, that's right. That should be right. You should be all able to hear me and you'll be able to talk. Now, we do have some questions coming through, and I'll go through them First question is for Dong. This came from Luna. When you were talking about early detection, did you mean doing the tests for all citizens, or is that just a case of not enough to actually test kits available?
天哪，这哪听得清楚？
Dong?
Yeah.
Hey, when you, on your presentation, you're talking about early detection.
Detection. Okay. Early detection.
Yep. Did that include doing a test for all citizens or just those that presented?
When the fever patient comes to the hospital, when the temperature is higher than 37.3 degree, then will be detect the virus from the mouse. Yeah. Detection. RNA decoction. Everyone.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Everyone with fever want to go to the one who went to the hospital, the fever outpatient department. We will detect the RNA virus. Yeah.
Right.
So,
okay.
Okay.
Yep.
等会儿他要问我问题了。
Thank you. There was a very early question from someone, didn't actually have a name, reference talking about chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine. I think that was no association with the azithromycin. I think that was actually mentioned in one of the other presentations, so I don't think we need to touch on that particular question. Whoever sent that question, if you're not happy with that or didn't get the answers, can you send through another question? Yeah. There are lots of questions which I'll answer on the presentation. Now, one of the questions is, what are the ingredients of Chinese treatments? Is one of the panelists able to answer that question, or is there's just that? I think that may have been covered as well. No? There was another question that's come through on azithromycin hydroxychloroquine help in treating COVID-19. I think that was answered in Ewan's presentation. Okay, another question is, what is the evidence of efficacy of TCM for SARS coronavirus 2? Is someone able to answer that question? Hello? Is the panelists able to hear me at all, or? No.
No, I can't hear you.
Right, okay. Just wondering, having technical difficulties here. what we might try and do, rather than just stand around or sit around trying to get these answers out, is that what I can do is actually take the questions, and we might be able to post them onto and get the answers and put them onto the FIP website. Adeline, what do you think? Can we do that?
Hi, Steve. Yes, certainly we would be able to do that. I think that there are some technical issues in terms of the internet connections from our Chinese speakers today, and probably that would be the best solution to go forward.
Because I can then farm the questions out to the individual speakers, and we can put them up, and then I can send them to yourself to be posted up onto the webinar or to the FIP website.
Yes, certainly. So they will be made available at fip.org/coronavirus, which is where we have stored all of our resources for pharmacists. And the recording of this webinar will also be made available on that page.
Okay. With that, I think we will actually close up the webinar. I'd just like to thank all the panelists and thank everyone for attending today's webinar on experience sharing of COVID-19 from China, medicine and pharmacists. You should receive a follow-up email within an hour giving you a link to view today's or the recording of today's webinar. And that will be on the FIP website as well. On behalf of FIP and our presenters, thank you for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day or evening as the case may be. Once again, thank you all for tuning in, and thank you to all the presenters. Some excellent presentations there. On that note, I shall end the actual webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adeline.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.